All right, welcome in, everybody. Joe Powers here with you, getting ready for another fun episode of GHSA All Access. And this one, real close to home for me. You see the Dublin Fighting Irish helmet behind me there, which means that we are on to the Irish here, where we have the pleasure of calling those broadcasts each and every week here on WRBJRadio.com and on a YouTube, of course, and the NFHS network. You'll see us in all the social media platforms everywhere. You can find a radio signal. You can find Dublin Fighting Irish football. And with that, we'll welcome in our favorite coach, Holmes. Coach, how you doing this morning?
Well, I'm good, Joe. It's getting close to football season. We're all kind of getting excited. I noticed that voice. You've got it tuned up for the radio. You're ready to go and all those good things. And we're just excited that we finally get to line up against another team this week with some fans in the stands and see where we are as a football team.
That's right. Got Hawkinsville coming in Friday to the Shamrock Bowl. Going to scrimmage up before we get into open season here the following Friday. So, Coach, I know that it's been a hard summer, hot. You've had some couple guys get a couple tweaks here and there, but let's talk about all the fun things you've seen so far, all the growth and all the replacements, new faces and new places with the Dublin Fighting Irish.
Yeah, you got your work cut out for you, just like we do, being the voice of the Irish this year, because there's going to have to be a lot of new names.
Yeah.
Got several returners in the offense and defensive line. Unfortunately, the radio guy doesn't get to call those people's names as much, obviously, as the skilled people. But you jump out front. How many times last year did you say Micah O'Neill, Zay Bostic, Willie Batts?
That's right. Every night in my sleep.
Yeah, they were about 80% of our total offensive production last year, and they're all gone. They've graduated and moved on to some bigger and better things. And you know, so, but that's what high school football is about. It's about, kids coming into your program as freshmen, learning the system, learning the, ins and outs, developing their physical skills as well as their mental skills. And then when their time comes, hopefully they're ready to produce at a high level. And we've got several of those young men, and we're excited to see how they do now that it's their time.
Oh, yeah. Well, Coach, you've got some new places, new faces and new places, some new young men that have been in the program. I know you've got the pleasure of having that underclass that has, I think they lost, one game in 3 years previously as the underclass and JV squad coming up and into action with you this year. Is that right?
That's correct. We've got some kids that have Thursday experience and they've gotten, because we've had a little bit of success, they've gotten numerous reps on Friday nights. But the difference to that is when those guys are getting those reps on Friday night, the game is over.
Yeah.
Now you've got to be in a position. It's a little bit easier to go in and play when the other team, for lack of a better word, is kind of beat down at that point.
Yeah.
Or they're beating you so bad that you decided to go ahead and get some of these other guys experience. But what have they done at that time? They've usually taken out their better players.
Right.
So it's the first time where they have to establish how the game is going to go.
That's right. And some of those new places, new faces that we're going to see in new places, we'll throw this young man up here on the screen, some photos from the summer here. You got a new quarterback that's going to be taking snaps. You mentioned Mike O'Neill off the top, 3-year starter who's gone. New guy going to be taking snaps. Who's it going to be in the scrimmage Friday, Coach?
Well, the guy that's kind of won the lead spot right now and probably very well deserving because he's played really well throughout the course of the summer, but it's Jeff Davis. Jeff's a senior. He's been a quarterback for us here for 4 years, entering his 4th year. And he's just I think one of the most unique things about him is he's going into his senior year as the valedictorian right now also. He's a football player. He's a baseball player. All the time and effort and energy it takes to put into that. Still be taking IB coursework, dual class enrollment stuff, and maintain the highest GPA in his class says a whole lot about him, not only as a student, but as a person and his ability to uh, categorize things and put priorities where they need to be. And, he's just had a good summer, and we look forward to hopefully him getting off to a great start and having a lot of success. You've got two more young men that are vying right now for that backup spot. Uh, you've got Jeff Rylan Yates, a sophomore right now, is probably a twinge ahead in the number 2 spot. He was our JV quarterback last year. And then Bennett Lake. Bennett was with us 2 years ago, moved to Macon. The family thought they were going to be in Macon opening a new business up there, and that did not happen the way they thought. So he's back with us and was making a lot of progress. Broke a leg in spring practice, missed over half the spring and over half of the summer. So there again, he's a little bit behind trying to catch up. And right now he's probably still at only about 80% on his ability to turn it loose and run. So those are the 3 young men, with Jeff Davis having the lead right now.
Gotcha. Well, Coach, we're, of course, going to talk about some other sides of the ball there in defense, special teams as well in just a few minutes. But we do have that scrimmage game coming up here Friday. So let's go ahead and just share some thoughts about what we have for the season overall, the schedule, and how you think that's going to shake out. Let's start with the obvious one coming up Friday. I know we don't count wins and losses in scrimmage games, but what do you expect to see?
Well, Hawkinsville will be in their second scrimmage. They scrimmaged Bleckley last week. Of course, we had the scrimmage in the spring because we had the spring practice and this type of thing. And, to me, the spring scrimmage, it'll start at 7:30. All tickets are available on GoFan for anybody that wants to attend the game. And then, obviously, we'll have the NFHS recording if people want to join the NFHS community and be able to get the games live in that situation. I think your voiceover will be on top of that, which is huge for people in that regard. But to us, basically your starters are going to play equivalent to a half. What you would call your twos will get equivalents of a quarter. And then we're going to use the fourth quarter for our JV kids and throw some of them out there on a Friday night. Biggest thing is as you're well aware, Joe, it's the first time that those kids have been in a situation where there's no coach in the back of their ear reminding them about the little things and all that. So we value scrimmages. We will do for the first 3 quarters when the older kids are playing. All the kicking games going to be live. Their coach and I were laughing the other day. We don't want to get a punt blocked in the first game and know that we weren't where we needed to be in that protections and stuff like that. I remember last year we scored on them. They went down and ended up scoring on us, kicked off to us, and we broke the kickoff return for a touchdown. So all of that part we'll work it just like it's a game situation, because who we open up with, which is Swainsboro, Dublin's oldest rival. The 2 oldest rivals we start the season with and we finish the year with in Swainsboro and Dodge County. I don't remember right now which one is it. We've played exactly more than the other. I just know that's our 2 oldest rivals. Yeah. Swainsboro is, Swainsboro and Dublin are so much alike in the history of the programs, the expectations in those programs, and it'll just be a great night. We get to use the first game this year as a home opener. Last year we were on the road, so we're really, really excited about jumping into that. And, we've got that 10-team region, Joe. So you only get one non-region game, one tune-up, if you will.
That's right.
And some dummy at Dublin decided that Swainsboro needed to be that tune-up. and I don't know who it was, but I don't think he's the athletic director at Dublin High School anymore. So at the end of the day, that's where we go. And then we jump into that region. You got an opportunity to see all those teams last year, obviously calling our games. And to me, I'm calling this year the region of the quarterback, or the year of the quarterback in this region. When you look at the returning starters at quarterback and how well they performed last year, it's going to be some tremendous quarterback play in this region. Blakely has a new quarterback, but he's been in the wings. He's related to the Fromm young man that was such a great player at the University of Georgia and over in Houston County.
Yes, sir.
I think it's his cousin. We got to see them the other night play Hawkinsville. He can certainly spin it. And then the wild card that we thought would be in there last year is the quarterback that's showing back up at Southwest is Coach Dupree's son. And that young man threw for over 3,000 yards as a sophomore. He did not play last year. He had a small injury, I think, to his hand or wrist. And he was listed as like the number 2 guard prospect in the state of Georgia. And he tried to focus on his basketball and set that up. I asked his dad, I said, hey, what's your son going to do? Back last spring, we had a region meeting, and he laughed, and he said he doesn't want to see his dad get fired, so he's planning on playing again.
Oh, that's funny.
Some great quarterbacks.
Yeah, we've got some good people taking snaps and spinning that ball around the yard here in our region, no doubt about it, Coach. And Region 2A is not short of talent. There's no doubt about that. So got our hands full. Good to see that schedule, though, the home opener with Swainsboro there, and, of course, back at home with Dodge County at the end of the season. There should be a lot of fun in between. But we got some other things I want to mention and chat with you about before I let you get on to your Wednesday morning. You guys are back in school. I'm off today, so you got more to do than I do, Coach. I'll tell you what. But as we walk along here, let's talk about some of those guys on the defensive side, because I know we've got some holes there. Our linebacking core has got to be replenished, and I think our defensive front, you got some good bodies up there and good rotation, but let's talk about where you see it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. If we're going to have a strength, it should be our defensive line. We return what I think is a tremendous football player. Now, he's a two-way guy, tight end and defensive end, in Quan Lovett. Exceptionally quick. He's long. He's physical, and he understands our scheme. So we're looking for some great things out of Quan Lovett. Deontay Walker. Going to be a junior. Found his way into the starting lineup. He's about 6'4", 330 pounds. He's playing one of our defensive tackles. And then as good a defensive lineman as I've had here, I really believe this, in Mandarian Stanley. Plays great technique. He's a 3 technique, goes with the tight end side. And then a family tradition name that's been around here making plays for the last 8 years, I guess, Jalen Doherty, the brother of Nasir Johnson and Ramonte Doherty. He's our other defensive end, and he's in there in that 6'3", 6'4" range, about 220. Blake Lukey, backing him up at about 6'5", 240. DeMarquio Walden started every game on offense last year, is projected to be a starter this year. He's another D tackle in there at 6'1", 300. John Oliver played a ton of snaps last year in the D line. Right now, he's starting on the offensive line, and with the depth, we're trying not to have too many guys up there having to go both ways. And then Pat Caldwell, a defensive end who's an explosive player. Sometimes you just got to turn Pat loose and get out of his way, and if he makes a mistake, he makes one. But at the end of the day, he's going to make a lot of plays. So there's our strength. You hit the nail on the head because you're well aware of this football team. We run a 4-3, and the top 4 linebackers that played 90% of our reps last year are gone. And so it's a total rebuild at the linebacker position. The young man that we've been able to see continuous, steady progress being made is the guy that's got to be the leader in that defense, and he's playing Mike linebacker for us, and that's Will Harris. Will is about a 6'3", 235-pound middle linebacker that's just a sophomore. He looks the part. He's getting better at being the part. He's starting – that Mike linebacker has to do a lot for us. It's like the quarterback. He's got to determine the strength and check the fronts and do a lot of things to get us there. I think he's starting to develop the confidence that you need and the understanding of the overall defense to be able to do that. And you can just see him getting better every day. Right now, he's backed up by Jaden McCray and Jaden O'Neal at the Mike spot. At our Sam linebacker, Zion Porter, played some snaps for us last year, but Zion's moved in there to the Sam linebacker along with Zion Mitchell. And then at weak linebacker, we've got a senior over there right now, Dorian Carcamo. He's backed up by Dontavius Cannon and Rylan Yates. So you noticed I called a lot of names. When you call a lot of names, it's because you're not sure exactly who's going to end up being the guys. So we need to get out of the huddle with them on Friday night in the scrimmage, not be able to help them recognize and do things. And maybe that picture will come a little more clear before we jump into Swainsboro. And then in the secondary, we're returning what I think is a lockdown corner who also plays running back, Trav Bostic. Has had he's just a heck of a football player.
Really is.
Good quickness, good. And he loves to compete out there. He plays what we call our weak corner, so he's usually with their split end, which is their best athlete. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, and you just got to be able to flush it when things don't go your way. And Ja'Carrion Jones kind of started playing a lot in the secondary for us last year. Trav was a junior, Ja'Carrion's a junior. He's playing the free safety. Jamarcus Knight, J-Man, who is competing and will be playing running back for us a great deal. He's playing our strong safety. And right now there's a battle at strong corner between Kai Young and Bennett Lake to see which one of those is going to be the guy. So there's a pretty big run down there. One thing that is exciting, Joe, is we do return both of our place kickers. And I thought both of them had solid years last year, considering that neither one of them had played football before and neither one of them had ever been in a game. Yeah. So they made a lot of progress, and Ethan Spivey will handle the kickoff duties and field goal opportunities. And right now, Uric Andrews, a senior, will handle the PATs, kind of the schedule that we followed last year. And Rylan Yates handles our punting duties, and we've got both our long snappers back, and Jeff Davis and Will Wallace.
Outstanding. Well, I always do enjoy the special teams conversation. I really do. It's always fun. It's one of those X factors that I do enjoy talking about. So I'm glad to hear that we've got some stockpiled strength there and some returning young men that can put it through the pipes when you need it, Coach, because those
we hope so.
Yeah.
I told our guys the other day, as a coach, you're always listening to other coaches' interviews or watching things on TV. And I told them one of my favorite coaches of all time was David Cutcliffe. And they were getting ready for a big game, and Coach Cutcliffe's comment was this: if every time we have the football, the drive ends with the ball touching one of our players' feet, we've had a good night. Yeah. So you're either kicking an extra point, a field goal, or you're punting. That means you're not turning the football over. So that one's always kind of stuck with me.
I like that. That's good. I like that one right there. Well, Coach, before I throw you into the fire here, and I'm going to give you just a heads up, and I normally don't with my coaches. You may have watched some of these episodes already. I have a little a thing I do called Between the Pylons, where I'm going to give you a rapid fire, 60 seconds of fun questions. So prepare yourself for that. I'll give you a few minutes to get ready for that. But let me just ask you, Coach, about what you see on the other side of the coin with these young men, because one of the things we like to do as we cover the whole state here with GHSA All Access is talk about how you're developing these young men, not only as great athletes and players, but young men to build into the future and, to communicate and to give back to our not only county, but their lives and their families as they grow. So, what's been the vibe around the Irish this offseason and building into the season here about what you've been doing with these young men and personally and around the community?
Well, to me, high school football, high school sports in general, I think the big question is, why do they have them? This is supposed to be education, reading, writing, arithmetic, so on and so forth, and such a big part of all the high schools in the state of Georgia are athletics. Our superintendent likes to say that's the front porch of our school. We can get more people into the Shamrock Bowl in a given year than any other thing that we can do. Well, here's the deal. In order to play football, especially here, you're expected to be on time. You're expected to be at practice. If you're not, and it's not an excused absence, you don't play on Friday night. It doesn't matter whether it's the starting quarterback or the 10th string wide receiver. It's the same. You're going to be here. You're going to be on time. Everybody has to wear the same uniform look. It's not about individuals. It's about team. At the end of the day, if you can bring someone out of a high school football program that has learned the discipline it takes to be an athlete, being on time, checking in with your boss if you're not gonna be at work, learn how to put the team in front of yourself. If you can do all those things, I think we're producing the type of person that you're going to want to be the leader in your community. They're going to be the great employees. They're going to have the intestinal fortitude to fight through it when it gets tough. And I just think that that's the staple of our program and most programs across the state. And at the end of the day, that's why high school sports, especially football, is so important in building the youth that are going to be the leaders in the future.
Absolutely. And we love to talk about that, Coach. I always love to hear from you guys, the head coaches, because you're the ones that are out there on the field doing the work. You're building into these young men, pouring into these young men. You see them as much as you see your own kids, your own family.
More.
Yeah. And so that they get a lot from that. And, as I did as a player, I remember my coaches and what they offered to me growing up, and all that matters. So we like to highlight that and talk about it here. I think it's hugely important. As much as the X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's, we got to talk about what happens after, the football season, and that's what we like to hear. So good stuff there. Any particular fun stories you want to share before I get into your? I'm gonna put you between the pylons here in just a second.
Let's just go to the pylons.
All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. You see up here on the clock, Coach, and I'm going to ask you just rapid fire questions, and hopefully we'll have some fun with it. And then we'll let you get back to the classwork and all at hand there in your day. You ready?
Let's try it.
All right. Here we go, Coach. We'll start with this one. What's your favorite sports quote from a movie?
Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
All right. We'll take it. Worst field you've ever played on?
Worst field I've ever played on was the old stadium that Northeast Macon played on. I think it was Thompson Field before they resurfaced it with the turf.
Yeah. Most ridiculous game scenario you've ever been a part of?
To me, there were 2 personal foul penalties against the team after we scored a touchdown one night. And we ended up kicking off from the 15-yard line and didn't know whether to kick it in the end zone or try to recover an onside kick.
That's funny right there. All right. Funniest player nickname this year?
Oh, shoot. Funniest player nickname this year? Tinkerbell.
Oh, man.
We got a young man. His name is T-Bell. And so I just call him Tinkerbell.
I hear you. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you one more. I'm out of time, but I'm going to ask one more for you, Coach, here. Nickname given to you by your team or coaches?
Nickname. I don't know. They haven't told me if I've got one.
I hear you.
I'm sure there are plenty in the locker room, but they haven't told me what it is.
Just not sure what they are yet, right?
Yes, sir.
I hear you. Well, Coach, thank you for letting me put you between the pylons there. That's always fun. I think we have a good time with that. Coach Roger Holmes, we'll let you get back to it, but I always like to give coaches the last word, so I'll do the same for you before I run into you here on Friday. What you want to leave the fans with here today?
Hey, just looking forward to a great season. Get over here early enough to get your hat and your shirt, Joe, so you'll look official when you get up in the booth on Friday night.
I'll do it. Coach Roger Holmes, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll see you Friday.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That was good.
The best in high school sports coverage in the state of Georgia is known by one name, the GSHA All Access. Tune in right here weekly to stay current with player profiles, coaches' conversations, and what's happening at GHSA sports. The GHSA All Access. Right here. Presented by Powers Media Network.